Hello and welcome to Sportstar Extras. I am Ayan Acharya. Joining me from Bombay is Amol. Hi Amol.
How are you, Ayan?
I'm good. And we also have Ashwin from Bangalore. Hi Ashwin.
Hi, Ayan. How's it going?
Good. Right. So guys, the first international series after the COVID enforced hiatus finally came to an end with England winning the Wisden Trophy 2-1. The writing was on the wall for most part of the series. It was uh, great to watch two teams go at each other. In the end, you would say England found their stride. West Indies ran out of steam. Several takeaways. So today we are going to home in on the three major points that came out of the three-match test series in England. So Ashwin, let's start with you. What was your major takeaway from the three tests?
Yeah, Ayan, I thought I'd start with on-field cricket matters first, get that out of the way. The two big takeaways for me was England's world-class seam bowling attack, and on the other end of it, really poor test batting from the West Indies. Coming to England with Broad, Anderson, Archer, and Wokes, I would say they're right up there as one of the best fast bowling seam attacks in the world right now, because all of them are match winners in their own right. We saw Broad pick up the man of the series here, taking 500 wickets. Another 500 wickets goes to Anderson in the same team.
Right.
Then you have Archer, who's an out and out strike bowler who can bowl those short spells and get you wickets on any type of surface. And you have Vokes, who's again like a more traditional seam bowler who likes to use the in swing, out swing, old school type of fast bowler. So, I mean, world class seam attack. I think they can be successful anywhere in the world. And on the other hand, the West Indies batting was just not up to scratch. This is just not good enough for the test level. Apart from that one performance from Blackwood in the first test, there was nothing else that was noteworthy. If you look at the averages, only 2 over 30, and the rest of them just not good enough for the test level. And not just the numbers, it was the way that they batted. They showed just no match temperament, no sort of ability to survive and be patient and stick around. None of those things that you associate with test cricket. And all you have to do is look at how Chase got out in the second innings of the third test, going for a suicidal single. I mean, who does that? I mean, that was just ridiculous. But that sort of summed up West Indies batting
Yeah.
on this tour.
Right. So yeah, plenty to ponder for the West Indies. I'm sure at some point the fatigue factor also set in. There was a very quick turnaround between the test matches. Well, they didn't have much option either. But yeah, I mean, for me, perhaps Holder's captaincy in the first test was really inspiring to see him lead the way, right? Not just on the field but off it as well. There were a couple of lapses as far as the on-field decisions were concerned. After winning the toss, deciding to bowl two back-to-back test matches, perhaps that could have been that could have played out otherwise. But the biggest takeaway for me, and I know Broad sort of overshadowed everyone coming from nowhere, had to be Ben Stokes. I mean, as you correctly mentioned, Ashwin, it's a very superior bowling attack. They have four seamers, but let's not forget Ben Stokes, who brings variety to the attack, who is just as good with the ball as he is with the bat. And that innings, in Manchester, the first innings where he made 176, and the second where he upped the ante, just goes to show why he's, the leading wisdom cricketer. I mean, it's almost as if he's starting to feel inevitable now. Like every time you watch him, you feel like there's something special around the corner. Even if he plays poorly, it's not about that particular innings. It's always ranked, against the knocks that he has played before. I mean, be it Headingley or even the World Cup matches, the World Cup final. Of course, there was some luck involved there. Or the semi-final against, or the match against Australia, where he couldn't take them over the line. That Mitchell Stark Yorker to get Stokes out. I mean, that was a great innings, and England were very reliant on Stokes to get over the line. He couldn't. So there's failure, there's success for Stokes. But I think, and Gambhir said that a few days ago, there is perhaps no all-rounder who comes close to Ben Stokes at the moment. And I know after the way Broad played the remaining 2 test matches, there are talks about whether he's the new Stokes. Don't see that happen. It's like he's I mean, Stokes is playing at a different level at the moment, but it was great to see Broad backing up his words with actions. We've discussed this before. If he had not come good in the remaining 2 tests, I don't know. Like I think he would have drawn a lot of flack for his comments in the first. So good for him. Good for England. He did. And Amol, your takeaways from this series.
Uh, wha- Ashwin has touched upon the fact that England did an England and West Indies did a West Indies, right? You spoke about Stokes and you have billed him as the best all-rounder in the world. I still beg to differ. It's Jason Holder. I
Okay.
still maintain that going by the consistency across departments, it's Jason Holder who still pips Ben Stokes, especially when it comes to playing in all conditions. But
Okay.
the biggest takeaway for me in the last 24 hours, okay, which was the most surprising bit in the last 24 hours, was the fact, the manner in which Jason Holder spoke about revenue model in cricket. This is something that only administrators speak or administrators leak. Players aren't really that forthcoming when it comes to talking about revenues in cricket. We all knew that West Indian players had taken a cut to agree to tour to England. That's not enough. What Jason Holder stressed on the fact that there has to be a revolutionary change in the way cricket revenue distribution works, especially for bilateral series. Right? The ICC conveniently puts its hands up and says, "It's your series. You guys decide whatever you have to do." In most of the cases, it's only the home board that keeps all the broadcast revenue, and it only hosts the visiting team in literal sense. Okay, the visitors don't have to pay for their accommodation, for their travel, but that's not enough. Players aren't paid. Players aren't compensated in the same manner. You look at the drastic gap between remuneration or compensation offered to international cricketers across board. It's startling as the retainers for West Indian cricketers and retainers for India or Australia cricketers, it's just incomparable. In fact, if you look at it, the domestic cricketers in India, Australia, England might be drawing more money than West Indian internationals or New Zealand internationals. Something has to be done, and I hope that somebody is listening. Somebody who should be is listening to what Jason Holder said. And one last point I want to make from a cricketer perspective: we all live in T20 generation. We all consume so much, but the series also stressed one point from a purist's perspective. There has been a lot of talk about whether test matches should be curtailed to 4 days. Had it been 4-day test matches, thanks to weather intervention, we may not have seen a result. All 3 test matches may have ended up as draws had it not been for 5-day test matches. So it just underlines why we need 5-day test matches. So please don't tinker with it.
Yeah. Just before we wrap up, going back to the revenue sharing model, Amol, it's not like it's the first time this has come up. We've talked about it before. Perhaps I think it's in my recent memory the first time an international cricketer of that stature has come out and said that it needs to be looked into. But every time this topic has come up, Ashwin, you as well, every time it has come up, it just falls on deaf ears. I mean, it never goes beyond BCCI, CA, and England. Perhaps South Africa is able to sustain itself, but as you correctly mentioned, the broadcast revenue for this series will go completely to ECB. Not to mention the pay cuts, they took 50% pay cuts, and to top it all, the risk of traveling all the way to England, one of the worst hit countries. It was indeed a very selfless act. So, do you really think that what Holder said will have any bearing in the coming days? Will it actually mobilize any discussion, constructive discussion, from your experience of covering this particular subject?
The cynic in me is convinced that it won't. The ever optimist in me feels that you have to hope against hope, and hopefully in the coming years, with all the factors that you stressed on keeping in mind, hopefully there will be some change. What do you feel, Ash?
Amol, actually, I wanted to ask you something as well. Holder also mentioned that another way that ECB can repay the West Indies is by touring the West Indies themselves later in the year. At least in the short term, do you think that is a more workable solution?
See, if you look at it from only the cricketer's perspective, yes, it might work, but there is a lot more involved in that. Okay, because ultimately, West Indies Cricket Board was broke. England and Wales Cricket Board has offered a loan. Okay,
Yeah.
something there is a political tint to it also when it comes to ICC elections. Cricket West Indies had asked for a loan from ICC. ICC said we can't loan any of the boards out. So what we can do is all that we can do is we can offer advance. That's where
Mm.
England and Cricket Board chipped in, and there is a feeling among the ICC corridors. There was a complaint and an inquiry lodged about it also, that it was a sort of a quid pro quo. That loan was handed as against ICC advances by ECB in return for a vote when it comes to ICC elections. Okay, so if you look at purely from cricketers' perspective, yes, something that like this may work. That if England cricketers or England national team tours West Indies in the near future, because they don't know. West Indies cricketers right now don't know what their international calendars is going to be. In fact, most of the cricketers don't know as of now, right? But if you look at it from the larger picture, none of the cricketers have a say when it comes to international calendar.
Yeah.
You and I can't decide the policies of our organization. It's quite similar when it comes to cricketers and cricket, right? So
Yeah.
let's just hope that there is a better sense in the coming years as to overall revenue distribution. As in the simplest option can be the visiting side can get 1/5 of the revenue generated through that broadcast tool, right?
Yeah.
Then whether it works out on a series by series, or you can have a fixed sum that every home team can give X amount, at least X, to every visiting side, right? Something like that can be worked upon if you want to. So let's hope it's just a start.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So clearly, there's more to it than just meets the eye. So let's see how this plays out in the days to come. The next series will involve England, who are hosting Pakistan in a three-match test series once again. Pakistan are already in the country and have played a few warm-ups too. So that's another exciting contest to look forward to, because Pakistan, as we know, do have a clique of young fast bowlers who could come good given the favorable conditions in England. So we will see how that series unfolds. So yeah,
Ayan,
that
I'm
would be
sorry,
all
I
from.
just want to bring in Amol on just one last question, if that's okay.
Sure, sure, absolutely.
Amol, we've been discussing that this England West Indies series is sort of sets the template for international cricket or international sports going forward, because all eyes were on this series, and if things go well here, boards like the BCCI would be encouraged to conduct their own cricket activities. Now that the series has gone on without incident, do you think it will encourage boards like the BCCI to take up more international tours themselves?
Honestly, I don't see international cricket returning to India at least in the next couple of months. Okay, with the COVID chart about to start going through the roof, it's still not hit the roof.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's the same. And let's just go back to what Rahul Dravid said 3 months ago, that to implement a biosecure bubble and all in a country like India is virtually impossible. Had it been possible, we wouldn't have been discussing IPL being shifted to UAE right now. So I think that's just a cue. So I think it's too early to discuss cricket returning to India. Overseas, yes, wherever you can actually have the distancing in place and there is basic civic sense in place, it's quite executable, right?
Like
I
the
don't see it
UAE, for
happening.
example.
Yeah. So I don't see it happening in India in the near future, at least. Let's just hope we see some cricket in India before the year end.
But like you said, the chances of them going abroad, like they're going to do with the IPL, that is possible.
That is quite on, but then the whole revenue model will come in.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I mean, as I said, there's more to it than meets the eye. Of course, IPL is around the corner, guys. The Test series, Test cricket, One Day cricket, and then there's the IPL. So yeah, it's around the corner. That madness will soon catch up with us. But before that, we have the Test series in England once again against Pakistan. But yeah, that would be all from our side. Thank you so much, Ashwin. Thank you so much, Amol, for joining us with your takeaways from the West Indies series. It was great catching up. And yeah, see you guys later. Thank you so much.